It's May 15th. It's a beautiful day in Iowa. Taking advantage of the nice weather to set up a few trail cameras today. First ones of the summer for us, so we're getting excited. Also going to use this as an opportunity to freshen up our mineral sites. That'll be the purpose of this video. Some things to think about when you're setting up mineral sites, and hopefully you can learn a thing or two from watching it. When it comes to mineral, you have a lot of options. In this case, I'm using some Lucky Buck and a trophy rock. Not going to really get into the specifics of products today. It's not really the purpose of this video. It's more to speak about mineral in general and the benefit. Regardless of what mineral type you choose, the benefits are pretty much the same. Whether it's a block or a rock form like the trophy rock, a powder form like the Lucky Buck, a pellet form, or even a liquid form, you're really just looking for those nutrients to help boost the antler growth. Now, I'm not going to pretend to be a wildlife biologist and explain to you all the nutrients that are in these minerals that help the deer health, but what I can tell you is if you're expecting major changes in the rack growth of your deer herd, you're probably going to be setting yourself up for disappointment. It's more of a supplement, and they're going to get most of their nutrition from the environment around them versus this one mineral lick. So temper your expectations. As much as these minerals are a supplement, number two, they're probably more so used as an attractant. When I say attractant, I'm speaking 100% for trail camera pictures. Here in Iowa, we are allowed to have these mineral sites, but we're not allowed to hunt over them. In terms of being an attractant, I'm not anticipating pulling deer from faraway properties onto this property. Really what I'm thinking of is deer that are already in the general area that will come in front and at least check out this mineral site and have their picture taken. The pictures are important to us because in general on this farm, we're looking for a 5.5-year-old deer or older. And that's not always easy to identify when you're on the stand and it happens quickly in the moment. So we have some pictures from the summer and you can really study them as the growth progression through the summer months into the fall. You have a better idea what the age really is of that animal versus trying to make that on the fly in the tree stand. So again, benefits, nutrition, and pictures. And again, we're not trying to impact macro movement of the deer, just have them stop by and get their picture taken so we can make a target list for the fall. There really are two drawbacks to mineral sites in my mind. The first one being CWD transmission. That's why a lot of states have gone away from baiting altogether. I'm not going to go too in depth in CWD. I'm certainly not an expert in that. Fortunately, it's not something we have to worry about in this area. But the second and probably more pressing thing to think about as far as downside is the legal implications of mineral licks. All you have to do is Google Joel Franz buck and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about as far as the implications. I'll expand on that just a little bit. Our team primarily hunts in Iowa and Illinois. In the state of Illinois, there's no baiting of any kind any time of year. So speaking primarily for Iowa for these mineral sites, the code reads pretty ambiguous. There's definitely some gray area open to interpretation in order to be legal or illegal. My recommendation is keep these mineral sites at least 250-300 yards away from any tree stand. And that includes any trail that's directly leading to the bait site to your tree stand as well. To expand on location, once you've determined that it is a legal location, a couple things to look for. If you can get an area that's kind of secluded, like what I have here, you're not going to get a lot of wind and the deer aren't going to be visible from any sort of road or house. They're going to feel a lot safer and more comfortable in here. Plus, you're not going to be getting a lot of wind pictures in your cameras. Another thing to think about is water. Hot summer days, eating salt, deer are going to need to drink. In this case, we have a pond. It's about 50 yards this way, so this ends up being a really nice natural location for them. Third thing to think about is accessing that camera quickly, quietly, and easily, so you can get in and get out without making a ton of intrusion in your area. So we talked about the advantages, disadvantages of a mineral lick, the location, tips. Now the last thing is just applying the product. Pretty self-explanatory. In this case, I'm just going to set the trophy rock directly on the ground. Some people will put it on an actual rock or a stump to keep it off the ground from getting a big dirt hole in the middle of your area, which is something you certainly want to be mindful of. After a year or two, deer are going to have a pretty big hole dug here. Another thing to think about, after big rains, you'll have water pooling in there, which will dissolve your product a lot faster as well. So the reason I applied both trophy rock and Lucky Buck The trophy rock provides a little bit more structure to the site. That's not just gonna immediately dissolve anytime it rains. And this Lucky Buck is very strong smelling, very strong apple smell. So it gets the awareness that this site is here a little faster. A few things to think about when it comes to product placement. You want your mineral to be about 10 to 15 feet from your camera, and you want your camera to be about waist high. Why that's important is if you have it too close, you might not have the entire deer in the frame. If you have it too far away, you might not get the image quality that you're searching for. So 10 to 15 feet is a good rule of thumb. As far as camera height, you don't want to have it too high that you just see the head of the deer. You want the entire body. And also you want it low enough that if another animal, such as a bobcat, walks by, it's still low enough to capture that animal and it's not going to shoot right over the top. So real quick, a few final thoughts. Check cameras every 2 to 3 weeks. Any more frequently than that might lead to unnecessary pressure, leaving deer uncomfortable in the area. 1 mineral site per 80 acres is a good rule of thumb. And lastly, deer will begin to lose interest in these mineral sites when antlers are fully grown and they've shed velvet. Usually in early September is a good time to transition cameras to mock scrapes. Hopefully you learned something from this video. It certainly wasn't an all-inclusive list, so leave a comment if you have questions or suggestions. And good luck this season.